while posting the invoice. So the same business area should be selected over here, otherwise the reports will go wrong. So it was 12:30, and again I have selected the business area over here as 12:30, and the amount needs to be posted over here. The amount in the invoice was, if you don't know, you can put 1, and later on we can come back and we can put the correct amount over here. Or if you remember the amount, you can put the same amount over here. Now we'll select the vendor at this particular field. So while selecting vendor, you need to go to the search, and with search you will select the vendor code. So going to this, okay. Now we'll select to the vendor part, that is double click on this, the vendor is selected. Now we can go to the process open item. So process okay, tax relevant account not defined in this. Okay, tax relevant accounts are not defined, please correct. Okay, let me check. So once you have filled these details on the screen, that is the document date, company code, posting date, currency, then reference, if their reference is used basically for putting the invoice number. So suppose there is an invoice number 1110, so you can put the invoice number as a reference for future references. Then the account has to be filled, that is the bank account with which we are making the payment, then the amount, how much amount of payment we are making to the particular vendor, and then we'll go to this vendor account where we'll be selecting the vendor code or vendor account. So after selecting these, we have to go to this process open item. Now process open item will particularly shows you the invoices pending in the vendor master account. So there is one particular invoice, that is 10,000 is already there, which has to be paid. So 10,000 we is taken, but if you remember the amount entered was 1 in the previous screen, so we need to correct that. So we'll go to this screen, document overview. You can go to this and you can put the same amount as 10,000, and now we can go to this process open item again, and you can see now this that this and this is equal to 0. Why? Because there is a rule in accounting that debit should be equal to credit. So until debit is equal to credit, you cannot post any transactions. So once you have selected the invoices from here and you moved over here, so if you select, if you can see, this is in blue line, blue, the number are reflected in blue. So if you double click on this, that means it will become black, that means it's deselected and the amount has become 0. So when you double click on this, it will get reselected again and it has been updated over here. That means this invoice has been paid with the bank. So once you have selected everything correctly, then you can go to the over here to document on the header top, and you can simulate from over here the document. Now when you simulate, this entry will be generated over here where the bank account is credited, that is minus sign is there, means bank is credited, or 50 posting key means credited, 25 is the posting key for vendor payment. So the vendor has been paid, that means the vendor is debited and the bank has been credited. Once the entry is okay from your side, you can go to post, or otherwise you can go back and exit the entry. So I will be going and will be posting this document. So the document is posted and a new number has been generated, that is 1500000. Now if you want to display this particular document, again you can go to this display over here and the document can be displayed. Otherwise you can go to FB03 and you can display from there as well. So now you can see the document number generated is with the initials of 15, and if you remember, when we created the number range for vendor payment, we created with 15. Why? Because the document type for vendor payment was KZ. So for KZ we defined the number range, that was 15, and that is what has been assigned and the number has been generated. So from easily you can remember that 15 document number starts with 15 is a vendor payment. So we have made the vendor payment. Now means we have covered the invoice booking of invoice and then the payment as well. Now we can go to FBL1N and we can see the line items. So /n FBL1N, I can go to this open item. In open item you will not find anything because right now we have just cleared those items with the payment. So you can go to all items and now you can execute. You can see that an invoice and then the payment have been cleared to each other. So this is what how it works. That is, the document number is over here. You can see the first we booked the invoice KR, that is invoice booking, and then later on we made the payment over here. So when we make the payment, the line item gets cleared, that the open line item gets cleared with the payment. Even we discussed earlier as well, open items. Open item means any transaction which is not complete, which is part wise. Like once you make a book a vendor invoice, until you make the payment of that invoice, the transaction, the whole cycle is not completed. So once you book an invoice always remain as open. Once you make the payment, it get cleared with the invoice, and that is why these all are reflecting over here as clearing document over here with the same key, and always the clearing item will display with this green color over here, and you can see even it's reflecting cleared. So this is how a vendor line item balance is displayed. Once this has been done, even you can go and you can check with the balance as well. You can see the next transaction is FK10N for vendor balance. So to check the vendor balance, you can go to FK10N, enter. Now when you enter, okay, /n FK10N. So over here also you can go and you can check the balances, execute. Now in this case you can see that in the month of October there is a debit entry of 10,000, there is a credit entry of 10,000, because we booked an invoice, at the same time we made a payment. So ultimately the balance has become 0 over here. But there was a purchase of 10,000 if you remember, so it is why in the purchase it is reflecting 10,000. So this is how it reflects your balance. If there would be any differences in debit credit, the balance would be reflected over here. So this is how you look after your closing balances from this as per period wise. If you need for different period, you can even have those report from over here. So this is your vendor balance report with FK10N. Moving to the next, there are certain different other reports as well from SAP side. These are the other reports where you can run. Suppose I copy this report from over here, and I can go to this /n and I can paste the transaction over here. These are certain different SAP reports. The transaction code is slightly long, but these are a specific designs report by SAP itself. We can put this over here and now enter. So while entering, you can see vendor balance in local currency. So if you want, you can 1200 company code. If you want to have for any specific vendor, you can put the vendor, or else you can run for all as well. So if I run for all and I click over here as execute, then all the vendor reports will come. Even for which particular period you want this report, you can put that period as well, from and to, and that particular period balances will be reflected to you over here. So selecting this, now you can see in this there is only one vendor, as we have created only one vendor as of now. So what you can do is you can create number of vendors and can do number of transactions in them. Keep few invoices as pending, don't make the payment, and then see how the values reflected. Even after making the payment, how the values reflect. So you need to do all these number of transactions to a particular vendor or couple of vendors, and then you can see how those reports are reflected in values are reflected in these particular reports. So that is what you need to do, and the report will come in this way. So if there are any number of vendors, for that matter, if there are 100 or 150 or 200, doesn't matter, all these vendor balances will be reflected line item wise or row wise in this. So in this you also find the reconciliation account as well. So this vendor is assigned to this ledger, means all these entries goes to this ledger from the vendor. So this is what the report is. Then in the same way, there are other reports like master list. So we created the vendor master. So those vendor master can be looked with this report. So to run /n and then copy the report over here or write the code over here, enter. So you can, from this you can have the different vendor details of the vendor master. So over here you need to put the company code and you can execute it. So it will give you the vendor master reports like vendor master, that is vendor is this, its service account group is there, it was created by user 10 and created on 29th of October, the language is English, the company name is TCS, the address is 211 New York, United States. So these are the detail which you have filled in the vendor master. While creating the vendor master will be reflected in these reports. So this is what. In the same way, you can go, if you need address, you can run a separate report like this. For that, /n to exit this screen, and then you can put your own transaction list, next report which you want to run, enter. So now entering, this will come over here as like this. You can put the vendor code over here for which you want the address for, or else you can run for all without filling any vendor code and execute it. So while executing, it will ask enter. So this will show you in such over here ALV, and ALV will give a better view of this. This has came up for all the vendors which is there in this particular client. So if you need for a specific vendor, you need to go back and you need to fill over here again. Moving up, there is nothing else. Okay, so you need to select your vendor over here, and then only you can have those particular part taken up. So my vendor was TCS, if I remember. So I can put over here as TCS and I can search for that. So my vendor was this. Double click on this and this is what is selected over here, and I can execute it now. This will show me the address of this particular vendor. So I can go to this ALV for a view, for a better view. So this shows you the vendor code, the vendor name, street, country, postal code, location and all. So this is a report for that. In the same way, you can go to these report as well, like due date forecast, /n, exit. Now I can assign again the next report over here, control V, and then we can put an enter. Now over here you can have another report for due date forecast, means when how much payment is becoming due. The due date can be filled over here. You want to see how much amount is coming due in 8 days, how much amount is due in 30 days to the vendor, means the payment which has to be made to the vendor. So executing this, we can see this report, but there is no data as of now. That is why we cannot have much of the report status. When you will have a huge number of data in the vendors, a huge number of business transactions, then only you can able to understand this report. Right now there is no value reflected. So once you do number of transactions, huge number of transactions, then you can run this report and have a look on this. The next is, so coming to the next last report, this is the most important report in today's requirements, and every client asks for this report. Mind it, this is a latest new report in accounts payable by SAP itself. S_S AC0_52000888. Enter. Now this gives you, okay, the report definition can be found. Okay, yes, could be imported. Okay, give me a second. So this is the report, and this report you have to put the company code. Now once you will be doing controlling, then you will be able to help understand better about this, that you can have reports on the basis of profit centers, segments, cost centers, business areas wise, and you can have all those things, all those details from this particular report. So to have those things from that particular report, you can use this part. You can go to this tab, and over here, suppose I have got 3 business areas as we have created for product 1, product 2 and product 3. I want the report only for one particular business area. You can go to this business area and you can double click on it. So when you double click on this, over here the pop-up will come for business area. So you can put your business area for which you want the vendor balances only. So suppose I write select it from F4. I want to see for product 3, so I have to double click on this 1230 my business area, and I will run only for that. So to put this, and then you have to go to the save option, save, and then now you can execute it, or you can even execute with all items. And now you can click on this execute. So right now we have only one vendor. Report is being processed. Okay, there is some problem with this. So this will work, this report will work only once we will have numerous transactions in the accounts payable. So once you will have all number of transactions in this screen, then only you can go for doing this particular or running this particular report. At times report doesn't work when you don't have any data on the SAP system. So you need to do a lot of transactions, and once you will be done with a lot of transaction in number of vendors, then you can run all these reports and you can see how the values flows on these. So these are some of the very helpful reports in SAP which every user, every organization needs on day-to-day basis. So that is what we have covered with the accounts payable today, and now we'll be taking up accounts receivable in the next training session. Thank you for now, and practice hard. Thank you.